Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Transgender School podcast, much sooner than usual. This is episode 44, which we are going to release immediately after episode 43 because of the changes that occurred right after we recorded. The day after we recorded the last episode, Sunday, July 21st, Biden withdrew from the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. This made Donald Trump the oldest major party presidential nominee in U.S. history.
Biden immediately endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, former California Senator, Attorney General, and San Francisco District Attorney, and by Monday night, Harris had secured the support of enough delegates to win the nomination, capping off a really unprecedented process. A major presidential candidate has never, ever stepped down this late in an election year. The only comparison is Lyndon Johnson, and I think he stepped down in March, much earlier in the year. A historic flood of cash also poured into the Harris campaign as she raised a record $81 million in just 24 hours following Biden's announcement, and well over $100 million in the first few days of her campaign. Republicans immediately began to panic. Trump's nickname, Laughing Kamala, fell flat while the internet was flooded with pro-Harris memes based on her famous coconut tree anecdote and declaring her brat, which is a reference to British pop star Charli XCX's latest album. And on the day Biden dropped out of the race, Harris was actually the second most searched topic on Google with over 2 million searches for her name. And every single day since Biden's announcement, the number of daily searches for Harris has consistently outnumbered by 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, the number of searches for Donald Trump. I think that's really cool.
I'm sure we are all seeing this. I feel like anytime I go on social media now, since this happened, is just flooded with Kamala Harris, flooded with requests for money, which I know is very important at this stage in the game. And it's so ironic that we recorded that whole episode about how the Trump Vance ticket is anti-trans, not knowing that the very next day things were going to change a lot in terms of what's happening in this election. So yes, we're all seeing this engagement online and social media. There's a frenzy going on. Everyone's talking about it. But what I really want to know from you, Jackie, the question is, does this online engagement, all this attention that this big change is getting, does this actually translate into support with actual voters?
I think it does. It's not just the narrative that Republicans are concerned about here. The polling data backs up the argument that Harris has the capacity to become a much stronger candidate than Biden was. And in fact, that she's probably starting off even in a stronger place than he was when he dropped out. So according to a series of CNN polls, which surveyed the same group of registered voters, that's really important because that shows genuine changes in attitude over time as opposed to statistical noise. So according to these polls, Harris has already cut Trump's lead in half. In both April and June, the polls found Trump led Biden by 6 points compared to just a 3-point lead over Harris in late July. In these same polls, those who previously said they would support neither Biden nor Trump in a two-way matchup now split 30% for Harris, 27% for Trump, with the rest saying they wouldn't vote or they'd vote for someone else. Among voters under 35, 49% said in April or June that they would support Trump and 42% Biden. So Biden was losing voters under 35 by 7%. Now Harris is winning them by 3%. The same Black voters polled in that survey, who split 70% for Biden to 23% for Trump, now break 78% for Harris to 15% for Trump. Among Hispanic voters, Biden trailed Trump in earlier polling, 50% to 41%. Those same voters now split almost evenly, 47% Harris, 45% for Trump. Women were split 46% Biden to 46% Trump in earlier polling, but now break 50% Harris to 45% Trump. According to a different poll run by PBS NPR Marist on July 22nd, 87% of Americans think Biden did the right thing by ending his re-election bid. And if the election were held today, 46% would vote for Trump, 45% for Harris, and 9% remain undecided. So the race is very close to being a tie. And this is good news for Harris, in my opinion, because Trump's numbers are locked in. He's at his ceiling, but she has a lot of room for growth. So if you dive into this PBS poll, this backs up the argument on favorability ratings as well, finding that 49% of Americans have an unfavorable view of Trump, 43% have a favorable view, and 8% are unsure. So Americans are mostly made up their minds about Trump, and they mostly view him unfavorably. Harris, on the other hand, is at 40% favorability, less than Trump, but just 44% unfavorable. That leaves 15% unsure, meaning she has a significant advantage among undecided voters, as they're more likely to have already formed a negative opinion about Trump while remaining open-minded to Harris's candidacy. This is why the unprecedented online engagement around the Harris campaign is so critical, because her ability to dominate the internet and generate earned unpaid impressions, particularly among millennial and Gen Z voters, is huge. It's way bigger than any cable ad. That one tweet from Charlie XCX saying Kamala is brat, that's worth $1 million right there, especially in an era when Trump is continuing to limit his reach to his own personal social media platform, which really further cements that hard ceiling in his polling numbers.
Let's be clear here. We want you to vote for Kamala Harris. And we not only want you to do that, we want you to get out and talk to everybody you can about why it's important for them to vote for Kamala Harris. So now we're going to move into really, really important data that you need to know about her record, and especially her record with regard to LGBTQ rights and policies. So Jackie, let's start with telling people what her record is. What do we need to know about her accomplishments as Attorney General, as a senator, as vice president?
I'll talk about her accomplishments. I just want to point out Harris is 22 years younger than Biden. You said this at the beginning, but can't stress it enough. Trump is the oldest major party presidential nominee in US history, and that's a big deal. So Harris has a long track record of success as both a candidate and an elected official, including critical involvement with marriage equality here in California. Prop 8, which was passed in 2008, banned same-sex marriage in California and was challenged by gay and lesbian couples as a denial of their right to equal protection. Sponsors of the initiative defended it in court, but Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger declined to do so, and then Attorney General Jerry Brown, after initially joining the defense of the measure, changed his mind in December 2009 and said that Prop 8 was inconsistent with the guarantees of individual liberty in California's Constitution. Harris, who at the time was San Francisco's district attorney, was elected state attorney general in 2010 while this legal fight was still going on. She refused to defend Prop 8 in federal court, leaving the ballot measure's supporters to defend it on their own. And this was a big deal because after Prop 8 was ruled unconstitutional by the Ninth Circuit, the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 in 2013 that the ballot measure sponsors had no personal stake in defending its enforcement and lacked standing to defend it in court. As a result, same-sex marriage became legal in California 2 years before the Supreme Court guaranteed marriage equality nationwide. As Attorney General, Harris also led efforts to abolish gay and trans panic defenses in criminal trials. She won a $20 billion settlement for California residents who lost their homes to unjustified foreclosures, and a $1.1 billion settlement for residents cheated by a for-profit education company. And her support for the LGBTQ community continued throughout her time in the Senate, where she introduced a bill to require insurance to cover pre-exposure prophylaxis, a critical HIV prevention method. She asked Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh about marriage equality, a question he would not answer. And as vice president, Harris has spoken out about don't say gay laws and trans healthcare bans across the country. She's highlighted what I think is really important, the intersection between LGBTQ and abortion rights that we've emphasized on this podcast before, calling them both attacks that are on an identity. And I think that that is a really important argument and really central to the Democratic coalition that we're going to need to beat Trump.
Yeah, I think we've made a strong case. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of evidence that will help you to make the case with everyone you know that she is the right choice for countless reasons. So Jackie, let's talk a little bit more personally, right, about why we're voting for Kamala Harris and why we're more excited about her candidacy. Just again, it's really ironic because in that last recording, which we just did a few days ago, I think we were trying to express kind of understanding and compassion for Joe Biden, but we also did make it very clear, you'll see, that we believed he should step away from the nomination and that he should allow someone who's younger and who has more likelihood of beating Trump to step in and be nominated as the candidate who would run against Donald Trump. So I'm excited for all the reasons you just described. I'll be really honest, I think it's way past time that we have a woman in the White House as president. I think it's past time that we have a woman of color who understands diverse experiences and can bring that perspective. We've had enough old white men who just don't get it. It's time that we had someone like Kamala Harris in office. She has the experience, progressive ideas, but also with the experience that's necessary to do the job and to do all the hard parts of the job. Personally, she is aligned with everything that I care about, everything that I believe strongly in. And because we're here on Transgender School, I want to emphasize how dedicated she has been to supporting LGBTQ rights. And just a month ago, I went to San Francisco to spend Pride Weekend with Jackie, and Jackie was able to get us invited to this incredible Pride breakfast. It was the Alice B. Toklas Club Pride breakfast on the morning of the Pride Parade, which we also attended. And not only was I shocked to see the caliber of the folks there, I did a double take to see Nancy Pelosi standing behind me. She was one of the speakers, and I had no idea that Doug Emhoff would be there. And so I got to be right there in the front row hearing Doug Emhoff at a Pride breakfast in San Francisco on the day of the Pride March talk about his commitment and Kamala's commitment to supporting LGBTQ rights and their dedication to not just maintaining the rights we have, but furthering them and their belief in this issue. And he was talking with everyone. He was engaged. He was happy and honored to be there. He spoke from the heart. This couple believes in trans rights. This couple is ready to fight for what we talk about in this podcast on every single episode. We got to meet the person who I hope will be called the first gentleman. He is now the second gentleman. And I can't tell you how excited I am about that possibility. What do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, looking forward to having a first gentleman. I think that'll be a unique new thing. The bottom line for me is that this is a race between an aging authoritarian demagogue who installed the Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade, while also bringing us to the brink of the end of US democracy as we know it, and a young, experienced, competent, thoughtful leader with the right skills and temperament to lead the country through the really unprecedented challenges we face, many of which are due to her opponent. Before we wrap up today's episode, we also wanted to give a shout out to Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride, who won her Democratic primary and is one step closer to becoming the first transgender member of Congress. That would be a huge win for the community, and I'm really excited to see her get elected. So we're going to end today's episode with a very obvious call to action, which is to please support Vice President Harris's campaign for the presidency. Get involved at KamalaHarris.com/volunteer. Volunteer to knock doors, phone bank, and donate to Democratic candidates in swing states if you can. And if you want to browse events available near you, hosted by different organizations and candidates, mobilize.us is a great resource. So again, those links are KamalaHarris.com/volunteer, mobilize.us. Even if you only volunteer once or twice over the next few months, you can make a difference. So please, please, please do everything you can, because this is a really critical window.
On a separate note, it's really exciting to hear you say that Kamala Harris is young because she's older than me. So this is going to be exciting to hear so many people talking about how amazing she is. So I want to add
plenty of time left. You got plenty of time
I
left
can
to
still
run for president.
Yes, who knows?
Absolutely.
So I want to say one last thing. Hopefully you're still with us, that if you want to support us and the work we are doing and learn more about how to be an even better ally, I promise there are things that you may not know, things that we can clarify for you, things that we can share from our experience that will be helpful to you in being an even better ally to all the trans people in your life, whether they're in your life now or they will be in the future. Regardless, it is important for you to know how to be a trans ally. So we are offering a live course. We would love to have you with us live in real time. You can ask questions. We're going to be there on Zoom for you on September 28th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we're only asking $25, but if that is cost prohibitive for you, reach out to us and we'll get you in. But we are asking for that support so that we can pay our costs and keep bringing up to date news to you and conversations about what's happening in the world of LGBTQ rights and issues. So please attend that course. You can easily sign up for it on our website. If you go to our website, transgenderschool.org, very simple. you will be able to click right through to the Eventbrite invitation and sign up for that class in September. Please do that. We would love to see you there. And please follow us on social media if you're not already there. We actively post, we're trying to engage, we're trying to grow our community, and we will be continuing to talk about and keep you posted on the election in 2024. Thanks, everybody.